Ian, I'm going to start off with a factual today. You want to hear it?
Yeah, let's go.
You cannot question the loyalty of Panthers and Hornets fans after Sunday and last night. Would you agree with that?
Oh yeah, I mean you can't if you proudly say you're a Panthers or Hornets fan, even after the past couple seasons, I mean you can't question our loyalty.
You just can't. You just can't. Well, you all already hear how this is going to go today, so we're going to go ahead and get this thing started. You ready, Ian?
I'm ready.
All right, let's do it.
Touchdown, Carolina!
You're listening to the Buzz Pound.
Smith scores, and the Carolina Panthers win in overtime.
A Queen City sports podcast covering your Charlotte Hornets and Carolina Panthers.
Halliburton, nowhere to go! LaMelo's done it! LaMelo's done it! Hornets win! Here comes LaMelo.
Here are your hosts, Ian Blair and Cam Gardner.
Buzz Pound, thank you for joining us for episode 15. 1-5. How about that, Ian?
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, it's flown by, honestly.
But it's been a fun ride overall. Can't say it's not the most enjoyable sport fan base in the world, but I'm still having fun doing this for the fans out there because there's got to be some good in some of us somewhere, somehow. So,
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think it's important that we're here through the dog days and hopefully one day we'll be able to replicate the 2015 season and kind of replicate some of the success we've had in previous years.
keywords one day.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Well, let's go ahead and get right into it. Panthers versus Cowboys. You go from three solid games before that, going against good teams and keeping up, playing competitively. We've almost won those three games against the Chiefs, the Buccaneers, and the Eagles. Somehow we get to the Cowboys, and it's like we're back to square one. We're talking about fumbles. We're talking about every little thing you could think of that doesn't work in a team's favor. All happened in one game against the Cowboys. I couldn't believe it. I don't even have any words. Disappointment, disgusted, and all the above. Ian, I'm gonna let you kick this one off.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of hit the nail on the head there. It was disappointing. I think this was one of the games I looked at as potentially being winnable. And unfortunately, we just had too many mistakes. And, the turnovers we mentioned earlier in the year or, the past couple of weeks, Bryce Young has been successful because he hadn't turned the ball over. And we were able to put together, long drives and he wasn't fumbling and wasn't throwing interceptions. Some of those fumbles, playing quarterback in the NFL, you're susceptible to Micah Parsons getting around your left tackle and while you're trying to throw and him kind of knocking the ball out. That's what makes great pass rushers. That's why they're so valuable. And that's why they get drafted in the top five every year is because you want those players on your team. I'm not trying to make excuses for Bryce and fumbling. I think, the first interception he threw, I don't think was really on him. I believe it was in and out of the hands of Adam Thielen, or Adam Thielen had a chance at catching it. But regardless, it was just, our turnovers really killed us, and our defense this entire year with the injuries we've had, just our defense is not stopping anybody. I mean, and when you put them in plus situations when they're starting on in our territory on the opposite side of the 50, and it's a recipe for disaster if you're a Panthers fan. And really, our defense this entire year has shown that we're not able to stop anybody. And, when you give them good field position, it's not going to be pretty most of the time. And when you have weapon on the Cowboys like CeeDee Lamb and the lack of run defense, Rico Dowdle ran for, I believe, 149 yards on 25 carries, average 6 per carry. So our defense just, the turnovers were bad. It's nice when you have no turnovers in a game. The Patrick Mahomes, the Tom Brady when he played, they still had turnovers, but you could have one or two if you have a good defense. They'll bail you out of some situations, but it was a compilation of all our problems from the entire year. This game against the Cowboys, it was really just turnovers, defense playing poorly, and Bryce Young didn't play his best game at all, but he had I believe, 4 turnovers. One of his interceptions was kind of a garbage time, and the other one, I believe, could have been caught by Adam Thielen. I'm not 100%. I was at work during this game, unfortunately. But my point being, yeah, it just turnovers killed us this game, and it kind of snowballed into a 30-14 loss.
Yeah, I mean, we made like you told me by text. We're good at making other teams that aren't good look great.
Yeah.
We have a reputation of that. I mean, we got Cooper Rush out here, 18 out of 29, 214 yards, 3 touchdowns. I mean, we got him looking solid for the most part. I mean, you got CeeDee Lamb having a standout game. I mean, just everything you threw to him, he was pretty much catching. He rarely missed a catch at all. I mean, when you're getting paid the way he is, you would hope that player's standing out. So I will give him that. But you got Bryce Young with 19 completed passes of 28 attempts, 219 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. Like we mentioned, turnovers was a big issue for him. I mean, I didn't understand why he felt like he just had to try to pass the ball in certain situations. I mean, he could have easily just threw it out or just ran to the sideline. I mean,
Yeah.
some of those points, like the sacks too. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah, I wanted to mention those. I mean, obviously, I think he was trying to, he's trying to do too much with a lot of the plays. We were down relatively early in the game. I did want to mention, sorry to cut you off, Cam, but 6 sacks with
yeah,
our line that was previously really good this year. And that we kept them up and we weren't giving up sacks. But, the Cowboys defensive line, they are extremely hurt. But Micah Parsons is an absolute animal. And they've drafted really well. CeeDee Lamb, who you mentioned, is a great player, top 5 receiver in this league. And those are the guys you need to rely on to win games. And right now the Panthers don't have either the caliber of either Micah Parsons on defense or CeeDee Lamb on offense. We don't have players like that. We don't have players that caliber. And when the Cowboys, if they were fully healthy, and I still wouldn't be a huge believer in them if they were still healthy. I think anybody could really beat the Panthers, unfortunately, at this point. I hate to say it as a Panthers fan, but yeah, I mean, just Micah Parsons he's a game changer. If the Cowboys are ever competitive, he's going to be a centerpiece of that defense, and he probably will if he stays in Dallas or wherever he goes. If he goes somewhere in free agency or gets traded, he's a great player. And it was just unfortunate that we gave up 6 sacks with our offensive line not giving up really any the past couple games, and it was just rough. It was just rough all around.
yeah. I mean, Sunday's game was just gruesome to watch as a whole. I mean, we should have known being a favorite to win the game was a curse. I mean, it was too good to be. It was too good to be true. Just the fact that happened. I think it was like the first time in 3 seasons or so.
Yeah, it was something crazy, like 700 plus days, I think. Don't quote me on that, but it was a crazy number.
Yeah, it was up there. So we should have known, and Panther fans somehow bought into that, and here we are. Same thing, different week, another loss. This one was more disappointing than the past 3 weeks. So it is at this point in the season not even worth talking about bouncing back, winning the next one. We got the Cardinals next. We just have to see what goes there. But, we got a lot of work to do still. And we knew that, but there's still work to do, particularly after this game. I mean, I'm not one to be speechless, but we're like 2 days post game, and I'm still trying to wrap my mind around that whole thing I saw. I was feeling good. I woke up. The game was actually showing on actual TV here in Alabama, which is hard to watch any Panther game. If you know that, you usually have to have the ticket or watch Stream East. Those that know about Stream East, it's one of the best things ever if you want to watch free football or free sports in general. But, I had my food ready. I'm watching the game, thinking it was going to end in a positive note, but nope, not this time. So we just have to, I almost just want to go into the postseason at this point, because every week it just seems like we're the bearer of bad news.
Yeah. It'll be more interesting whenever we're talking about who we're going to draft with the top 5 pick and kind of break down all those prospects. There's a few good ones in this upcoming draft. It's going to be interesting to see who we draft, because it's going towards another top 5, selection. And yeah, it's kind of the same thing. We hate to say it as podcast hosts, but it's, as a Panthers fan, it's just, we're out of the playoffs. The season's pretty much chalked up, and we're just repeating the same things pretty much every week because the problem is that the same things that goes wrong for this team continues to show up in our losses. And it's kind of, you can kind of expect. It's like, if early in the game, you kind of know by the first quarter, oh, Bryce Young hasn't turned the ball over yet. Okay, that's a good sign. If he's turned the ball over, then, look at history. Look at this season. It's kind of going to go a certain way if our defense really doesn't come to play, which is just about every week. It's going to be a long game, but it's just frustrating. It's really frustrating. I had not necessarily high expectations coming in this year, but I had higher expectations than I did the past couple years. Just because everybody, and obviously Derek Brown was healthy at that time, and Shaq Thompson, everybody's healthy, and we thought Bryce Young was going to come out looking good. And unfortunately, that didn't happen. But Bryce has turned it around a little bit this year. Step back this past week, as we mentioned. But it's just another frustrating Panthers season, and it's a frustrating Carolina sports season right now. I think for all, but at least both of our professional teams, as well as later in the podcast, we'll talk about the Tar Heels, and it's just frustrating, man. I hate it, and it's really, like you mentioned, you're just kind of speechless. You really don't know what to say, and it's just frustrating.
Yeah, 100%. Like you said, you didn't come to the season with super, super high expectations. You expected better than last year. You didn't think it could get worse, but still a lot of work to do. I mean, Dave Canales and Dan Morgan, they still got a lot to show. I mean, what I was happy about, though, is David Tepper said he's going to finally pull back and let them start pulling the strings. And, Tepper's been a huge portion of the problem for the past few years since he's obtained the team. So hopefully Dan Morgan and Canales can make some things happen. We just have to see. I mean, you don't know what they're capable of yet. And I mean, things are still new. I mean, I think Canales, for the most part, has been beneficial to Bryce. I mean, he's shown some development there. The past 3 games, we could have said a lot of development, but then you go from those games to this one, it's just like, what happened?
Yeah.
It's just one of those things. Most teams at some point in time or in their history go through times like this. And hopefully, like you said, we can get back to that 2015 season.
Yeah, I know. I agree 100%. I mean, we need to surround this team. We need weapons. Xavier Legette has tons of potential, and he could be a good receiver in this league. I think Jalen Coker could be a good receiver in this league, but I don't think either one of those guys is going to be the caliber that you want. The CeeDee Lambs, the Jamar Chases, the Devontae Adams in his prime, those guys that you need and make your quarterback look good on a weekly basis. We have quality receivers, but you don't have that number one target, and our tight end room is lacking right now. And I think Jatavian Sanders has potential. I don't know if he's ever going to be a really solid tight end, but we need to surround this team with more weapons than just Chuba Hubbard. And Chuba Hubbard is a great player. I mean, I really am high on Chuba Hubbard. I think if you throw Chuba Hubbard on the Chiefs or the Eagles or a contending team that's well run, I think he puts up better numbers than he's putting up as a Panther right now. And we just need to surround Bryce with more than an undrafted. No hate to Jalen Coker. I think he's going to be a great player, but I don't think he's ever going to be a wide receiver 1. We can't surround Bryce with a bunch of undrafted guys and a rookie receiver that's still learning his way and learning how to catch passes on a consistent basis without dropping the ball. So it's frustrating. And on top of that, while we're at it, is our defense is not very good. And a lot of that has to do with injuries. If you look at JC Horn's PFF stats and things like that, he's actually playing pretty good. He does really, really handsy corner. He gets called for a lot of penalties, especially against the Chiefs. He was PI and holding 3 or 4 times that game, which is just absolutely ridiculous. But when he's a good corner, he makes too many mistakes penalty wise, but if you look at his stats and the percentage of catches given up, it's pretty low relative to the rest of the NFL. But our defense is just not good, and there's a lot of missing pieces, and there's a lot of good draft options in this upcoming class. We'll kind of go into that later this offseason, but I think we definitely need to look defense early in the draft. We really need everything if we're being honest, but they
just got to be smart about this draft. I mean, obviously we're having their first round pick, and we don't know where that's going to be yet, but they just got to be smart about utilizing it correctly and getting exactly what this team needs. I mean, it's already been stated that they're not going to go for another quarterback. I mean, at this point, that really wouldn't make too much sense to me. They might need to look at getting another backup because I don't know if Dalton's really going to be there after this season or not. They need at least something to have behind Bryce Young.
Yeah, there's always free agency too. We need to have a big free agent class. We need
Yeah,
to sign
yeah,
some key guys that are
that part.
going to be in that free agent class. But
But we truly do need a wide receiver one, like you said, that alpha receiver, like that one guy. I mean, just the type of players that you want to, that one receiver. Like every team has that one receiver
yeah,
that is their go-to. And right now we don't have that. We just got young players developing and role players. People like Thielen. I mean, he's older. I mean, he still can at least kick you some yards, but he's slower now, not as quick as he once was. So, I mean, we're really going to have to look into that. So, I mean, it's a lot to be done. Thankfully, it'll be our off season soon. No post game for us. It's been that way. We've been knew that, but it's a bit to be done. So, like Ian said, later on, once we get to the off season, we'll probably be getting into that a lot more about whatever moves and such are going to be made. So,
yeah, yeah. I mean, we go into the Cardinals game on Sunday and chalk it up as another loss in my book. I hate to say it, but we'll obviously talk about that on next week's pod. I mean, do you want to go into kind of the preview for that?
I mean, I'm with you. I'm putting that up as a loss as well. Just I don't see us stopping them, honestly. The way we are in the history we've had this season of outside of this past game of being able to compete but can't pull it off. So
yeah, it's just frustrating. It's just frustrating. It's really all we could say. It sounds like a broken record, but it is what it is. Anyway, Cam, I have a question for you.
what you got?
Are you ready?
Yep.
Are the Charlotte Hornets cursed?
Oh, it is cursed. I must just say this. There's a curse over Charlotte as a whole, or at least Charlotte professional sports, because we have lost 12 of the last 14 games. We can start with that Bulls game that we hoped we were going to be able to pull off a win, but that was, man, they lost 109 to 95. Didn't really have any real standouts. I mean, Brandon Miller had 21 points, 3 assists, 6 rebounds. Bart Williams had 15, 2 assists, 9 rebounds. Miles Bridges, 14 points, 4 assists, 9 rebounds. I mean, we were still without LaMelo Ball, of course, but those are the only real standouts. And we always talk about Josh Green, 9 points, 2 assists, 2 rebounds. He doesn't step up the way he should. Not that he's a star or anything, or superstar, that he's a role player in my book. I'm sure in most books, but man, oh man. Then when you go to yesterday was just a cherry on top to officially put the curse all over Charlotte for me.
Yeah.
I mean, literally just the day after that Panther game, I'm hoping without Embiid that, and LaMelo came back too, so we were going to have our duo. I thought it was possible. We got Bridges, who they're paying.
Yep.
We got Mark Williams back.
Everybody was healthy. Most
healthy.
people were healthy at the start of the game. At the start of the game,
I mean,
is
it
key.
just seemed like it was a recipe for potential success. But no, boy, was I wrong. LaMelo, I mean, he had 15 points, 11 assists, 5 rebounds. Miller, 12 points, 4 assists, 4 rebounds. Bridges, 24 points, 4 assists, 6 rebounds. Those are really the only standouts of that game. And boy, oh boy, defense was not in our favor. I mean, we let Tyrese Maxey get 40. We let Paul George get 33. I mean, they were cooking our defense so bad. It was out of sight.
And that's kind of been the story of the Hornets for the past 5 years, 5+ years, is the lack of defense. And we've changed coaches, and we went through plenty, 3 coaches within the past 5 years, and our defense is still not, like you mentioned, Tyrese Maxey, who is a good player, don't get me wrong, went for 40 on 6 for 12 from 3-point range, 12 from 28 overall. I believe he probably had some free throws. And then Paul George, who is way past his prime, went for 33. So,
and remind you, all that was without Embiid, so they carry the Sixers, and they're not even like doing spectacular either. I mean, they're 8-16, but still, them doing that to us, I almost don't even have words there. But man, I mean, we're talking 121 to 108 loss, and it was worse than that for a while.
Yeah, no, it was one of those things that we were down by a ton, and then try to come back at the end to make it look pretty and stuff like that. And we're outscoring them in the fourth quarter when we're down by 40, and it's just frustrating, man. And I texted you. I believe I texted you in the third quarter, screenshot of the score. We were down by 20 at the time, and I was just so frustrated because all over social media and the Hornets social media kind of community was like, this needs to be a win. This is our win. We're gonna win. They don't have Embiid. We have LaMelo back. Brandon Miller was healthy to start the game. We'll kind of go into that injury in a second, but it was just it really frustrated me. The season's kind of just frustrated me up to this point. And not to say they can't turn it around, but right now, as of right now, in December 2024, this Hornets team is just not it. It's not it. And there's people calling on social media to blow it up and trade everybody. I don't know if we're to that point, but it's getting rough, Cam. I mean, it's this sitting at 7-19 right now and losing games, losing to an 8-16, well, 7-16 Sixers team at the time, 8-16 now, without Embiid and without their really stars. And Tyrese Maxey looks like a star on last night, but
Hey,
that's just
I'm
frustrating.
not gonna lie to you. This almost has me wondering in a way if we're about to relive the 2011-12 Bobcat season when they were 7-59.
Yeah, I don't know if it shouldn't be that bad,
It
but
shouldn't be, but the way they're going, where they can't finish even with all key players healthy. Unfortunately, Miller got hurt, but man, if they can't finish and getting blown out all these games, they could easily not even make it to the double digits.
yeah, I mean, I don't think it'll be that bad. I mean, we're still really, relatively early in the season. We're sitting at 7-19. I mean, if we didn't make it to double digit wins, it would be rough. But as of right now, man, this team's a disappointment, and I think that's the only way to put it. I was high on this team to start the year. I thought this was going to be a good season, especially with all the players, and it's just kind of this rinse and repeat. We've had injuries. Brandon Miller has sprained his ankle in the Sixers game. Gonna miss some time. We don't know how long, but
Trey Mann is still out too.
yeah. Hopefully we should be getting him back. I believe he's getting reevaluated in 2 weeks at the time of recording this podcast, but it's still just it's frustrating, really. That's the best nicest word I could use.
Like I started this podcast earlier, you cannot question the loyalty of a diehard Panthers and Hornets fan because most people think we are crazy to even be that.
Yeah.
At least people I know, they think it's the craziest thing. Like I get so many remarks from that, like, I don't know how you do it. I don't see how you do it. Or
Yeah.
are you serious? I mean, any response you could think of, I've heard. And it's just to the point, people may try to talk trash about our teams, but it's to the point you can't say nothing that's going to bother me about it because
Yeah, no, I agree
I'm
too.
just so accustomed to it.
Yeah. I mean, it's frustrating, and when I tell people I'm a Panthers fan, I'm like, yeah, I know it's been rough the past couple of years. It's kind of sad that I have to preface it with, oh yeah, I know I'm a Panthers fan. It's rough, and they're like, oh, feel bad for you. But
Every single time.
yeah, I mean, I'm a diehard. I know we're both diehards. We're doing this podcast, and it's Carolina Sports Podcast. It's just frustrating that we can't get on this podcast and talk positively about our teams. It's a double negative with both of our teams right now, which just sucks. But it is what it is. We'll live. We're going to be a long time, I hope, and hopefully one day we'll be able to see kind of
One day.
Yeah, see.
One day.
Fingers
calling it.
crossed. It's maybe we could see a playoff run by the Hornets. I would be so happy if the Hornets made it to the second round of the playoffs. Oh my gosh, that would be, through the play-in, through the first round and made it to the second round. I'd be so happy. And same thing with the Panthers at this point. If we made the playoffs, if we won the division, oh man, it'd be like winning the Super Bowl.
I've seen 2 Panther Super Bowls in my life, and both were lost. That first one, I think that was 2004 against the Patriots. That's the first NFL game I actually remember watching from start. I was young, but I was keeping up. I already knew, my family had already planted the Panther fandom in me at that point, and that's all I knew. But I need to see that Super Bowl. That's already 2. Hopefully, third time is the charm, whenever that is. And I hope, fingers crossed, that is during my lifetime. I mean, like you said, we're young, still hopefully got a long life to go as fans of both teams. And hopefully they could live up to our satisfaction at some point.
I know we're keeping this podcast lighthearted because we have to when the Panthers are so bad. Cam, would you cry? Would you shed a tear if the Panthers won a Super Bowl?
Oh, yes, I would.
Yeah,
I would cry.
I would too.
I would, no matter where I am working, I will make sure I'm off that day so I can be at that parade in downtown Charlotte.
Yeah. No, I definitely, especially if I had a couple. Which if the Panthers did make a Super Bowl, I would definitely have a couple drinks. But I would probably shed a tear. Honestly, if we won a Super Bowl,
I would have a drink and probably multiple shots.
Yeah, it's
I mean, that'll be a day that I have hoped and dreamed of for the longest. And I was
Yes.
hoping for that moment in 2015 season. But
Yeah.
after that, I don't even want to relive it. But anyway, this is just those listening who aren't Panthers or Hornets fans or supporters at all. This is just the life of a fan of both teams.
Yeah, honestly, we would celebrate like it was a Super Bowl if the Hornets won it to the or made it to the second round of the playoffs. It's where we're at. It's where we're at as fans, and it's
Like
just it's
being a fan of
frustrating.
these two teams are not for the weak at all.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, Cam, do you kind of want to give us a rundown of kind of the Carolina college hoops?
Yeah, let's go ahead and move on from these Panthers and Hornets of ours as well. My Tar Heels are definitely not satisfying me either, but just at least in the sake of that, I like college basketball as a whole, so I can tolerate that a little bit. But Saturday, December 14th, they played LaSalle and they won that game 93-67. Today, as we speak, they're playing the Florida Gators currently. Unfortunately, they're about to lose that game. Currently, that score's 88-84. They were up at one point, and somehow I look away for a little bit, and they are down again. So it's just something in the air in the state of North Carolina, clearly. But on the bright side, we got Belichick. We got Chapel Bill going on. So I know this isn't a UNC football podcast at all, but I just had to highlight that. I'm excited about that. Can't wait to see what he does and changes the college system as a whole. So Saturday, December 21st versus UCLA at 3 p.m. 2 Central. That should be an interesting game. UCLA is currently ranked 18. Now on to the Duke Blue Devils, who are sitting at number 5. They played UIW Tuesday, December 10th. Won that game 72-46. Playing today currently against George Madison. I'm not sure what the score of that is. I'm sure they're probably winning that game right now. Saturday, December 21st, they play Georgia Tech at 12 a.m., 11 Central. And Tuesday, December 31st versus Virginia Tech. They play Virginia Tech that day at 4:30 p.m., 3:30 Central. Now on to the Wolfpack, good old NC State. They last played Kansas, who's number 8, Saturday, December 14th. Lost that game 75-60. Sunday, December 22nd versus Rider at 4 p.m., 3 Central. And Tuesday, December 31st versus Virginia at 12 p.m., 11 Central. So got a list of games here. Hopefully they're entertaining to say the least. Duke, they're playing very well. So got to give it to those guys. They're representing the state of North Carolina very well. Hope the best for those guys throughout the rest of the season. Hopefully they can continue representing well.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Duke, they knocked off Auburn and they're looking really good. It's kind of unfortunate, kind of the season the Tar Heels are having. I feel like they're just following in the footsteps of the Charlotte sports teams. Also to mention, at least we do have the Hurricanes.
Well, that part, yeah.
Yeah, they always choke in the playoffs, but we still have them. Anyway, yeah, it's unfortunate season so far for North Carolina. Hopefully they can make the tournament. I hope they do. I really don't have a dog in the fight for any of the Carolina sports no, take that back. Carolina college hoops. I don't really have a dog in the fight. I hope NC State, North Carolina, and Duke all make the tournament and do well.
Hey, like I said, my highlight is Chapel Bill right now when it comes to North Carolina.
Yeah, so. Which also I think if you put your biases aside, this could go either really well or really bad. So if you're a North Carolina football fan, because Chapel Bill is very old and I don't know if he's ever recruited in his life, but it could go either, like I mentioned, with the day in NIL and all that, it could go either really well or really bad. So It's going to be interesting to see in the next couple of years. And hey, I hope it goes well. I think it'd be great to see Chapel Bill, College Bill, be a great college coach, but it's definitely weird. He was in the NFL his entire career, and now he is an old man. No disrespect to Bill Belichick, but he is older, and he's now going to be recruiting 18, 17, and 19-year-olds. So interesting if you think about it. I try to put myself in the shoes of a 17, 18-year-old. And yes, Bill Belichick is the GOAT of the NFL coaching, but he's also like my grandpa. So it's just
literally,
it's just a weird dynamic. And he also he doesn't have a very large personality. He's kind of just Chapel Bill.
Yeah. I mean, just hearing the way he's talking about that program, he's treating it as a platform to get to the NFL.
Yeah.
And and truly with the way the portal is, he really doesn't even have to do much recruiting. I mean, he could look at film of these guys and see what he likes and doesn't like. You know, you got a lot of so far a good bit of people who are transferring there, and those players that were in the portal before he officially came in as the coach, a lot of them came out of the portal and remained. So
yeah. No, I saw.
That just shows it's just it's Bill Belichick for you. It just shows what aura he has.
Yeah, it's some type of aura. He definitely is the GOAT of the NFL. And it still blows my mind that he took the North Carolina job. It's crazy.
If you told me that a year ago, I would not have believed you.
Yeah.
That was something I would have never in my life considered.
Yeah.
I mean, I knew he had ties there with his father being a coach there long ago when he was a boy, but we'll see how it happens. I mean, it'll be, I won't lie, it'll be nice seeing Belichick in some Jordan gear with his cut sleeves on the sideline at a UNC game in that Carolina blue. So hopefully it's going to bring a lot of traction regardless. So it'll do that athletic program as a whole at that school very well. Not sure what it may do. We'll just have to see. I mean, he's got a 5-year deal, $10 million. So hopefully he's able to do some damage out of that in a good way, not a negative way.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, 100%. And yeah, as you mentioned, it's going to do huge things for North Carolina and the university as a whole, especially he's the GOAT of NFL. He coached Tom Brady. So definitely a big name. It's going to bring a lot of eyes to North Carolina. Not that eyes weren't already on North Carolina, but even more.
Yeah. Well, for a diehard fan like I am, I like the idea of it. We just got to see how it all folds once the season as such comes around. So.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, BuzzPound, we appreciate y'all joining us for episode 15 at this point. And I say it every week, but we're loving it and we enjoy doing it. We could be talking to ourselves and not have any listeners, and we still love doing it. But we appreciate every single one of y'all. We really do, especially our consistent listeners, our supporters. Shout out to my family if you're listening to this. Shout out to Cam's family. And we appreciate y'all, and we appreciate the support that you'll give us. As always, you can follow us on both X and Instagram at BuzzPound Pod, and you can listen to our podcast on both Spotify and YouTube.
And until next time, we're the Buzz Pound. Keep pounding, keep the high mentality going.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Buzz Pound. Be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and let us know what you thought of this episode. Until next time, this is the Buzz Pound.
Touchdown!